Welcome. Don't talk with your hands.
Mayo experience.
Mayo experience. Mayo experience. Mayo experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by Underdog, the Week 1 cheat sheet. Hit the time codes, jump around to where you need to get. Injury report, rankings update, prop plays, underdog plays, bets, DraftKings ownership, and much, much more. If you just want this in a happy email, the Mayo Media newsletter is completely free to subscribe to. It's down in the description, or if you're just watching this and don't want to hit the description, Mayo Media Network on Substack is where you can find it. Just get it sent directly to your inbox. I'll have that updated a little bit later on during the day, and I'll have another update in that same article again on Sunday morning. It's the one-stop shop. If you need to know what is going on heading into Sunday, this is where you need to be. I'll also post it as an article on X at the PME if you're looking for that. Sub to the channel, smash the like while you're here. We had a ton of great shows all week, and we'll have the set in stone schedule for the next 17 weeks starting on Sunday evening with myself, Cust, and Chris Meany is joining us. Cust has to eat that pickle KFC live after the late set of games on Saturday before Sunday Night Football. So if you need something that's not that terrible NBC show to get you between a bridge in between the late games and the primetime game, Bills Ravens is going to be awesome. We're doing the pregame show over there, recapping a bit of the week, eating some food. It's going to be a lot of fun. Please tune in to that. Final thing I want to mention to you before we get into everything, the Survivor pool I'm doing at Splash Sports is still open. The final time to enter is actually kickoff on Monday Night Football, but I don't think you want to leave it to chance with Minnesota and Chicago. So you can get yourself in still. There's 4,000 spots remaining. It's $50 to play. There's $500,000 to first prize. I'm done begging for this. I'm telling you that you should play in it. It's an awful lot of money for not a lot of money to actually put in. You pick one team, you get yourself through. 17% of the pool has already moved on with the Philadelphia Eagles. I would expect the Denver Broncos to be a very popular selection come Sunday as well. Maybe you can find some wiggle room in that. It's multi-entry. Tell some friends. Just don't be the person who gets to week 2 and tweet at me and be like, Pat, where can I get into a Survivor pool? I'm telling you right now, that's not going to happen. It ends at the end of week 1. So do it right now. All right. You can find that link down in the description, or just go to Splash Sports, play in the 4-for-4 Survivor pool, $500K up top, $50 to join. Let's jump over to the draft of my newsletter right now. You can see it up on the screen. At running back, injury-wise, Christian McCaffrey is expected to play. He did not play on Friday, not practice, on Friday, but he says he's good to go. I have him ranked at number 2 in the running back rankings. I dropped him down a spot to move Bijan ahead of him. You're going to have a contingency plan if that's going to be the case and you're starting him full go. So obviously Brian Robinson would be the first person up. I'd probably elevate Brian Robinson up to top 20, maybe even top 15 in the running back rankings should McCaffrey not be able to go. I don't have a ton of concerns about it. It sounds like he's going to play it, but that's what I thought heading into week 1 last year as well. And that turned out not to be the case. And he ended up missing the first, 10 weeks of the season. So a good time to get some backups in, or if you can finagle it where you put him into your flex spot, I'd also recommend that on DraftKings as well, mainly because that gives you more outs with the type of player that you can sub in. If McCaffrey is playing, you're going to want to play him, especially full point, half point PPR. I guess he's a little bit less valuable in standard format simply because how many passes he's going to catch this season, but you'd be crazy not to try to find a way to get your first round pick, or at least wait for him. Maybe we'll get the bomb in the morning that he's not playing, but if we do not get that, play him. I don't want to say with full confidence, but play him with a backup ready to go in case some weird news drops at around 3:45 Eastern time that he is inactive for the game. I'd say that's probably like a 5% chance of happening at this point, but I've hit bets that have been less than 5% probability, and I've lost bets that have been higher than 95% probability. So it's still on the table. Don't pretend like it's not going to happen, but it's unlikely at this point in time. Back to the injury report at running back, Roschon Johnson has not practiced all week. He's likely out for Monday Night Football, but again, the Saturday evening injury report will reveal that. I'll have that updated in this newsletter on Sunday morning. Jalen Wright is out for the Dolphins. Achane is a go, meaning that Ollie Gordon II or Ollie Gordon II will be the primary backup in that game against Indianapolis. Will Shipley exited the game on Thursday Night Football with a ribs injury, so he's probably still the backup to Barkley if he can get himself onto the field. We'll see how that's going to go. Wide receiver Christian Kirk is out for the Texans with a hamstring injury. Jalen Higgins is going to be the primary number 2. Difficult matchup against the Los Angeles Rams. However, if you did watch the Best Bet show on Thursday morning, we were going through the prop screen and we did see that Jalen Higgins was at 16.5 in terms of his over-under for receiving yards. That's back when Christian Kirk was a bit questionable and only 2 books still had it out. We recommended that you hit the over on it anyway because it just looked like Kirk wasn't going to play. It is now 37.5 if you go look around. So if you did that earlier in the week and you just wanted to middle it to see if you can win both sides or at least lock in some profit, you can most definitely do that right now. If that's the case, if you followed along with us from that show on Thursday, Jake Bobo is out. Troy Franklin is in for the Seattle Seahawks. Darnell Mooney is questionable with a shoulder issue. We should have that wrapped up either late on Saturday evening or early Sunday morning. Not quite sure if he's going to go or not. Ditto for Green Bay with Jaden Reed and Dontavian Wicks. Both of them just aren't practicing at all. And, well, Jaden Reed has a Liz Frank injury, I believe, in his foot. So if he plays, bet the under on whatever he is up to because it's just difficult to navigate around with that going on. I don't know if either of these guys are going to play, but that, again, is a late game. I wouldn't trust either of them. I would just find better options. Ditto with Mooney. Like, I get that Mooney might be a nice piece to your fantasy team later on in the season. And that's great. I mean, I like Darnell Mooney as much as the next guy. I don't want to necessarily play a guy with no training camp who may or may not play in the first game of the season. It's week 1. Your team should be relatively healthy. There's no bye weeks. You got to have a better option than Darnell Mooney at this moment. But if you do want to wait for him, we'll have the news before the early lock goes. So you're going to have to make a decision here of whether you want to trust whether or not, even if he is active, whether or not he is healthy and how much he's going to be involved in this game. Xavier Worthy exited Friday Night Football with a shoulder injury. Travis Kelce took him out. He's expected to miss multiple weeks. How long? We don't know because he's going to get his MRI when he comes back from Brazil. Isaiah Likely is out with a foot injury, and Darren Waller is out with a hip injury for the Miami Dolphins. And more on that situation a little bit later on in the show as it pertains to DraftKings and maybe some upside. For over a century, Johnnie Walker has shared its bold spirit with the game of golf. Now, crafted with Devereux Go, Johnnie Walker introduces the Johnnie Walker Blue Label-inspired Sunday Golf Bag, elevating the game with sleek design, Blue Label hues, and refined gold accents. Celebrate your hole-in-one with a premium Sunday bag crafted by Devereux Golf. Submit proof of your achievement to johnniewalker.com/blue-in-1. Please drink responsibly. Are you ready for some football? If not, Chubby's is ready to help you with their NFL collection. Whether you're tailgating, grilling, riding the highs and lows from the game from your couch, Chubby's has officially licensed NFL gear to keep you looking like an ultimate fanatic. Now, for me, I just really personally love Chubbies because they come in 3 different lengths, which are perfect for me. I like to show a lot of leg, and I'm not a super tall guy. So if I end up getting a small, they come out below my knees, and I look like I'm trying to be Eminem from the late 90s, which is not really the look that I'm going for here. And they have some bold designs for the NFL, but I like my monochromatic shorts when I'm going out. Show off some nice tan, some nice legs, and boom, we are looking good out there. For a limited time, use my exclusive code MAYO for $10 off at chubbyshorts.com/Mayo. Yes, that includes the NFL collection. Let the thighs out and the good times roll. Let's move over to the betting market with props, and you can use the Sharp Stack tool from 4for4. You can get a 7-day trial as well. So if you go to 4for4.com right now, use code MAYO, you can get yourself 25% off, but you can get the free 7-day trial to go test it out, see how it works for you. Let's bring it up on the screen right now. I've been struggling so far because I'm getting too greedy. I did an entire betting show where I spoke with Connor and Ryan, who will be joining me live on Monday morning for the complete recap and the Monday Night Football preview about, look, not getting too greedy. And then we got to week 1, and then I got too greedy with 2 primetime games, and then just lost most of my money. 2 of my teasers hit. That's great. Great news all of a sudden. But then I lost basically everything in the prop market because I was parlaying everything together. What I need to do is make more sensible pick'em plays. So as you can see on the screen right now, this is Sharp Stack. It does have all sports, but obviously we want NFL to go through. So I did play this. The Sharp Stack projection right now. So Pat Freiermuth, lower than 3.5 receptions. Jonnu Smith, lower than 3.5 receptions. And Jonathan Taylor, under 2.5 receptions, were the 3 highest rated at this point in time. More of these numbers will get released on Sunday morning, so keep that in mind as you're going through it. And we just hop on over to Underdog. You can take a look and to see how we're doing here. I got some pick'ems on the go, and that is the one that I've already played. As you can see, what's $150 pays 492. So not bad. It's not the 6x that you'd normally get, but these are, I don't even want to say that these are inversely correlated. It's just Freiermuth and Jonnu play the same position on the same team. If they end up running the similar amount of snaps, all of a sudden you're looking good. If it just becomes the Jonnu show and Freiermuth is barely on the field or vice versa, then we're into some problems. This is the other one that I play that I really like. This is my favorite. I mean, we'll see how this ends up going as we get later on into Sunday. But if the Colts end up getting the ball first, and that just ends up being it. But Devin Achane is 2.5 receiving yards. That's his prop on Underdog right now for the first quarter. Now, if Miami doesn't touch the ball, he's not going to hit it. But for the game, he's projected for 35. His over-under is 34.5. You can actually go to the Sharp Stack app to see on the left-hand side of the screen. You can go to projections and just see what's going on here. We can take a look at running backs. We can take a look at... Let's see, where are you at, Devin Achane? Let's see, 4.7 receptions, 29.2 yards. So even if that's one catch for him, essentially. So if he gets it on the first drive, the Colts are horrendous at covering running backs out of the backfield anyway. So this is a pretty good spot for him if that's the way that you wanted to look at it. And these are median projections as we're taking a look as well. You can see that Jonathan Taylor, that under of 2.5 is sitting right there. 1.2, it's very rarely that he's going to get there. It's more of the rushing against Miami. So we took the computer play. This is one that I just liked. Achane, higher than 2.5 first quarter receiving yards. Joe Flacco, higher than 235.5 passing yards and 48.5 receiving yards for David Njoku. Was the one that I ended up going with as a $500 flex play. So it only needs to go. I sacrifice some odds for a little bit of safety, but 500 pays. What is it? What does 500 pay here? 1,200, 800 for that. So if you go to Underdog right now, you can use code Mayo and get yourself a deposit bonus of up to $1,000. But I want to make another one on the show as we're going along. So let's get this back up here. We can actually take a look at Sharp Stack and see what the best projected. If we go to the EV tool, and we go to just props only for right now, we can see what the highest EV plays are on the board. Jaden Higgins, it's funny, that lower of now it's down to 34.5 at minus 112. Again, if you would hit it earlier on in the week, you have a great chance to middle if you want to. That's the one thing when you start using the computer programs, you should really just trust them. That's why I took the 3 highest plays and made the Underdog entry, because I look at that, you're like, you know what, Jaden Higgins could go off in that game. But now you can look at it with McCaffrey receiving yards. That's at Fanatics, minus 120 to the under is a very high probability of hitting. Jaden Higgins 35.5 under, although that's juiced up a little bit more. Troy Franklin receiving yards for Denver under 20.5 is another one that pops out. Diami Brown, with everyone seemingly good to go in the Jacksonville receiving core at the moment, under 20.5 yards. And again, I would look at that and think, man, under 20.5, and that's one catch for Brown. So you really have to hope that he is not involved in this offense whatsoever. Where's the first over we get to? Austin Eckler receiving yards is the first over outside. It's Diami Brown over 20.5 receiving yards. Now I actually do like that one because that could be just one catch for him. Where are we at? Yeah, 20.5 receiving yards for Austin Eckler, and that's minus 120. So they're all sort of, I mean, this is better to do earlier on in the week. Obviously, more get opened up because now you're dealing with minus 120s. You're dealing with the lines that have probably been beat into place a little bit. Like earlier on during the week, Shaheed was over 31.5. Now he's under 45.5. So you could have got the best of both worlds in terms of that number. Or if you just wanted to arb, what's the best arb going on right now? If you had $100 to spend, you can make yourself a free $15 if you had Bet365 and Novig by Isaac Tesla at Novig over 1.5 receptions is plus 141. His under at Bet365 right now of 1.5 receptions is plus 120. It shows you the stake you absolutely need to bet on both sides to guarantee yourself a 15% ROI. There's actually a bunch of them right now. Noah Brown is another one between Bet365 and Hard Rock for our friends in Florida. Ditto, it works as almost as well at Bet365 and BetMGM. Bet365 is weirdly off market on a lot of these props right now. And Kittle would be the other one. Over 4.5 receptions at Profit X. My good pals at Profit X plus 115. Under at Novig and under at Caesar Sportsbook of 4.5 receptions is plus 130. So you can lock yourself in. Guaranteed profits, but you just need to have all of these books. Again, this is the Sharp Stack app, 4for4.com/Mayo, link in the description. And you get a free 7-day trial if you go sign up for it now. Everything after that with code Mayo will be 25% off. But I do want to get back and play one of these fun pick'em plays. Let's go to this. Let's play a pick'em play here. What do we want to do? I really like, and I'll talk about it as it pertains to the DraftKings ownership a little bit later on. It's just no one's really using Dolphins at all. Maybe I'm just way off on that game, but I think it's the third highest total of the week in terms of over under, and it's indoors, and there's a little bit of weather issues with some of these games, but I've already played a Taylor under on receptions and Achane over with the receiving yardage in the first quarter. But I do think it's a nice spot to maybe try to play a bit of outlier in terms of stacking things up, because this is where I get myself into problems. I'm going to play like a 25-1, whatever it might be. I really like Malik Neighbors to go absolutely mental in this game as well. Let's see what his over under is right now. His general one is going to be, come on, load up for me. Come on, load up. Receiving yards for Genty, 16.5. I can see him being more of a banger here than anything else. Really wish that would open back up. Maybe I click off and click back on. We'll be doing fine. There we go. Of course, it popped up the moment I get off the page. 74 receiving yards is the over-under. Just boost him up a little bit more. We can go to breaking 100 yards for Malik Neighbors at plus 136. We're going to throw that one on. That one's a ton of fun. Tyreek was the other one that I wanted to go to. Maybe Tyreek is completely washed, but I like him on DraftKings this week because he's going to be like sub 8% owned, and it's usually a pretty good spot on a fast track. He's not coming in with any injury designation in the game. So let's just get him up to 89.5. So you just have two stud receivers going here. And, plus 138, plus 141, $10 would pay you. What are we at here? $10 would pay you what at 6.8 to 1. So that's not bad. If we go back to the Pick'em lobby, I think that we have actually, it's just going to be on. Let's see, are there promos that we can get? Nothing, no promos there. Although if you play this on the app as we go through it, and I go to my lobby on the app right now, there's a 40% profit boost, a 75% profit boost, and a 100% profit boost. That one's only $25 max. The other two are 50%. The $75 one for me, for a 75% profit boost one for me is $1,000 max. So what I'm going to do is find maybe one more to throw onto this, maybe see what the flex play would end up being. I'm trying to find one other player that I really like this week to maybe crush 100 yards. I feel like it's going to be someone in that Cincinnati and Browns game because I really like it. But from the Browns, I mean, it's probably going to be Chase, but that's not going to do me all that good. Maybe it's Drake London receptions. I feel like he's going to absolutely eat up the Tampa Bay core here. Maybe even Brian Thomas. I wonder if Brian Thomas is sitting out. Let's see. Trevor Etienne. That's not where I want to go to. I want to go to Brian Thomas in this game and try to find a flyer on him, be it, let's see, 75.5 receiving yards. His next level is up to 109. I don't necessarily want to know if I want to go that high on him in this spot. See if we can find out if we can get some Drake London. Drake London is someone I like. Who else can we like in some of these games? Rico Dowdle, probably not so much. And there's a lot of Jacksonville and Carolina props on the go. Don't really want to touch this Jets game whatsoever unless it's going to be unders. Kittle, maybe 4.5 receptions for Alvin Kamara. I don't want to force anything in. These are the two that I like. I'm going to put it in for 50 right now, and I'm going to go back and boost it up after the fact and maybe try to find another piece. I'll have the finalized version in the newsletter later on, but that 50 pays $340 if we're going into it. We're just looking for big games from Neighbors and Tyreek Hill, and that's where we're going to be off to. The other thing that you can do this week is go over to coolbet.com. If you're in Canada, outside of Ontario, I really like the Raiders to beat the Patriots this week. If you go to this tab, the PME Weekly Boost, you can find there's 3 bets that you can get in on right now. We had Jalen Hurts boosted up to 5.5 to 1 for first touchdown in the Thursday night game. Now, he scored a touchdown on the Eagles' first possession. He unfortunately did not score the first touchdown of the game. You can find the link to this down in the description to get yourself the deposit bonus and into draws as well. Las Vegas to win plus 140 is the best number on the market right now. If we go back to SharpStack, you can find it on the odds screen. We'll just take a look at the games. Let's see here. Raiders and Patriots. And we want to go from total to money line. The best number right now on the Raiders to win is plus 125. That's at BetMGM. But if you go to CoolBet instead, you can get the PME weekly boost and get them at plus 140 to win if you like the Las Vegas Raiders, something which I do mainly because I feel like they have a better team than New England anyway. When I started to go through in my mind the three best offensive skill players in this game, you can come at me with you think that Stefan Diggs is good. Someone told me to look at the box scores from last year. Why don't you go back and watch the games with Diggs? He was a number 2 working underneath most of the time and still found himself with terrible separation. That was working as a number 2 with Nico Collins. Then he had a devastating knee injury to end the year, and now he's 31 in a situation that's not super conducive with great offensive play, and he's going to end up getting the primary coverage. Even if it is the Raiders and their coverage isn't all that great, whatever, he still has to operate as the number 1 in this offense. So in my mind, I'd still like if you put Jacoby Myers back on the Patriots right now, he'd be their number 1 receiver over Stefan Diggs. So the 3 best offensive skill players in this game for the Raiders are Brock Bowers, Jacoby Myers, and Ashton Genty. Maybe Henderson proves himself to be better than all of these guys on the New England side. Maybe. And right now, maybe in the future, Drake May will be a much better quarterback than Geno Smith. Right now, he's not. The numbers just don't reflect that whatsoever. Maybe the entire offseason got him going. That's fine. And let's call that one a push. The 3 best either runners or pass catchers in this game are on the Las Vegas side of the ball. The defensive line for Vegas, much better than the New England defensive line. And normally the secondary would be better for the Patriots, but Christian Gonzalez isn't playing here. I still don't know why this spread is as big as it is. The Patriots are a very, very popular sleeper team this year. I just don't see it. Listen, I'm wrong all the time. I can be wrong about this. I think Vegas is better, and you're getting plus 140 to bet them this week. Hell, if you just want to take the spread or even tease them up to 8.5, I think that's where they're at now because they did get up to, let's see here. They got up to 2.5 earlier on in the week. If we go to the spread, what's the best spread we can find on that game right now? 2.5 is the best, and it's minus 102 at DraftKings. I believe it's also minus 102 at CoolBet as well, if that's where you want to play it. And because you don't have DraftKings Sportsbook if you live in Canada outside of Ontario, hence why you can use CoolBet in place of that. But that would be where I would be looking at for this spot. If you tease them up to 8.5, that's a pretty good teaser leg. And then hell, if you really just want to, you can find it to go with Denver, tease them down to what's Denver coming in at right now? Denver is at 8.5. So you can get them at 2.5. They're still 8.5 at DraftKings Sportsbook. So that's 2 of them, unless you really like Arizona just to simply beat the New Orleans Saints, because that one is going to be, let's find it out here. Where the hell did that go? Oh, they're at the very top. It's 6.5 or 6, depending on where you go. So basically it'd be minus a half point with a 3-leg, 6-team teaser. You can get all of those through. I know that we did that on the Best Bet show this week, and we ended up going with, what did we have? Mine was Arizona down to a half. Rob took Vegas up to +9 at the time, and Cam took the Jets up to +9. But I like that 3-legger better. I like Vegas, take out the other one with the Jets, and you can end up using Denver down, Arizona down, and Vegas up. And you got yourself, I think it's, what would that end up paying? I think that's like plus 150 right now as a 3-team 6-point teaser. I have not updated myself on the rules of the 3-team 6-point teaser so far for 2025 and which books are offering better than others. But again, that's why you try it around at as many books as you can to see where you're going to end up getting the best number on those. So 4for4.com/Mayo to get that 25% off and the free 7-day trial of SharpStack. And when you get SharpStack, you get all of the tools, DFS, fantasy football. That's all included as a part of that package. You can get it monthly as well if you just want to try it out for a little bit and hopefully have money left after a month, and you'll be off to the races. Additionally, you can use code Mayo at Underdog to get yourself a free pick, a free play. If you play $5, you get a free $50 in bonus funds and a deposit bonus of up to $1,000. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Give online therapy a try at betterhelp.com/PatMayo and get on your way to being your best self. Sometimes we turn to some funny places for support, but not everyone's a therapist. Not everyone is the one. Find your right match with BetterHelp. I've turned to some weird places to solve my life's problems. Have you ever texted like a big buddy group chat? Yeah, that's probably not the best idea. What you need to do is actually talk to a quality therapist. And BetterHelp therapists work according to a strict code of conduct and are fully licensed in the United States. It's also completely online. You can pause your subscription whenever you need to and switch therapists anytime at no extra cost. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. Find the one with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at BetterHelp.com/PatMayo. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/PatMayo. Finally, let's talk DraftKings. I did the full show with two of the best DFS players in the world. Tambo was on live with me, along with John Breslin, who's now writing for 4 for 4. He's won a Million Maker, multiple live finals, ranked top 10 in multiple sports across all the DFS landscape. So someone you want to listen to. You can get his full package along with the tools at 4 for 4 at 4for4.com/Mayo. If you get the Sharp Stack app, you'll get those as well. But if you just want the DFS tool, then it's easy. You can go do that right now if you want to, and you just use code Mayo and you're off to the races. 25% off. You can see all of the different tools that you can get with DFS here at the top of the screen. You can get your ownership projections, your leverage scores, the optimizer. I have the optimizer built up right now. So we built through lineups on the Friday show, but what I wanted to hit on right now is the ownership projections by position. So you can see that Lawrence, Mayfield, Burrow, Flacco, and Daniels are getting a little bit of an upgrade here right now. Those are the 5 highest projected. That's a move up during the week for Joe Flacco. Tua also got a bit of a bump from 2% to 5%. I think that the more I talk about it, the more other people start to realize what's going on in this slate, that's not a bad spot to be in. The biggest favorite of the week I thought was pretty interesting. A low-owned Bo Nix at like 4.5% on DraftKings is pretty enticing, honestly. You put him up with Cortland Sutton. I don't even know who the bringback would be. Maybe it's Chig to save a bunch of money, and then you can just put an all-star team around everyone. But one of the other tools that I like to use here as we go through it, we can see, let's go to, where are we at? Ownership projections on 4 for 4. And you can find which passing game stack is going to be the highest owned right now. And you can do that for DraftKings. You can do that for FanDuel. But right now it's the Jags, 47%. So a QB, wide receiver, tight end, and or another wide receiver. We're looking at a 45% cumulative ownership between Lawrence, Brian Thomas, and I'm guessing Brenton Strange. Maybe it's Diami Brown. Maybe it's Travis Hunter, whoever it ends up being. 47%. That's going to be the chalkiest of the stacks this week. Then the Bengals, then the Buccaneers, then the Commanders. If you just go for overall team offense, let's see here. We got the Bengals because Chase Brown is going to be so incredibly high owned. The 49ers and Jags. These are all things that you can get at 4 for 4 with that membership. You can get it down in the description. But I'm going to go to the new optimizer because I just find it easier to navigate within here. So let's take a look at running backs. Who is going to be the highest projected owned? So it's not Christian. Christian McCaffrey was initially tracking at around 30%. He's now been readjusted to around 18%. If you're going to get an 18% Christian McCaffrey, it's much easier to do in daily fantasy than it's going to be in your season-long lineups because you can just play him in your flex. I've already written up the different players that's going to be in the newsletter that you could potentially move him out for, but it's not crazy to think about. Like, you could just drop to Brian Robinson at $5,800 if you want to. If you can find an extra $100 and you have him in the flex, you can use Nico Collins as a part of the late game. Amon-Ra becomes super easy to get to as well because he's $100 cheaper. There's a lot of different options and things you can do for that if you wait him out and he's declared inactive, or hell, if you just need to pivot, if you play him in your flex on DraftKings, you have multiple options with great players that you can get to. But at that price point, I'm still going to be running out McCaffrey in my lineups and hoping for the best. So the top 4 in terms of ownership: Chase Brown, James Conner, Devin Achane, all projected to be above 20%. Then you're into McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor, and Bucky Irving as the next few. So if we just take a look at projected value, let's see who ends up being the best here. Christian McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor, Chase Brown. So all of the best guys are the ones doing it. Who at a low ownership projects out well in terms of value? Chuba Hubbard. No one's really owning him, and that's a game where people are loading up. He's projected really well only $6,000 with his projected ceiling of up around 18.5 fantasy points. Kyron Williams is another one who's pretty low, and Tyron Tracy in that game where people are loading up on the Washington side of the ball, but we're seeing a less than 5% ownership. Or if you just think that Genty is going to be awesome, he's sub 10% ownership, and he might smash up the Patriots in that spot. I mean, that's another out to my Vegas money line win if that would be the way that it goes. So those are the kind of the best spots. Gibbs is interesting too. He's not projected super well. I mean, he's projected super well in terms of ceiling, but he's expensive at $7,700. But he's still only coming in of all the very top end running backs. When you can see their salaries all lined up and take a look at ownership, it's very clear that it's Gibbs and Genty are the two way below, and then literally no one is using Breece Hall at like 2% ownership against the Steelers. I wouldn't want to use him either. I completely get that. But a 6% Gibbs could be the leverage that you need. I just don't know if week one is the way that you want to go about that, trying to do it. Projected ownership at receiver right now, Drake London, Igbuka, because he's the supreme value, he's the cheap value of the week at $4,600. Expect those two to be played in tandem a lot as a mini stack going back and forth against each other. Brian Thomas and Ted McMillan playing against each other are the next two. Those are all at over 19% ownership. Then you're into Higgins, Chase, Evans, Judy, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. I like to kind of jam in Malik Neighbors. I think that's a great spot, obviously, but I don't have to go crazy with it because I balance that out by playing some underdog. I actually played that Tyreek Neighbors one with the 75% profit boost. The $100 entry ends up paying out on that. So I played a $125 entry with the same one that I just played. It pays out just under $1,400 at 11.16 to 1. So those are two that I like. I mean, that's a fun way to play underdog. Two players that you think are going to go off. You can play them on fantasy points or just boost them up in terms of their yardage. When we start taking a look at the elite receivers and who is going to go pretty under-owned. So Amon-Ra is one of them, and he would be that pivot play from the later set of games. If you had McCaffrey in the flexes, you needed someone to go to. Other than that, you're looking at Garrett Wilson and Terry McLaurin. It's a negative GPP value for Garrett Wilson. That's like unheard of guys over $6,000. Projections do not love Garrett Wilson. Very few are using McLaurin, Devontae Adams, Cortland Sutton. He's the one that could go really well. Obviously, he would go really well with Bo Nix, but we saw Bo Nix highly projected, but really under-owned. And then you had Cortland Sutton, who is pretty highly projected as well, not that expensive, and coming in under sub 10% ownership. That's where I wanted to go with Tua and Hill a little bit earlier. So if we take a look at Tyreek, you see Tyreek is now getting up there a little bit more. So that entire game is starting to churn out a little bit more ownership. But Tyreek at 11%, Tua at sub 5%, you're still getting a stack of two guys, a quarterback and wide receiver at sub 10%, sub 15% ownership, which is pretty good. And Tua has some pretty good price. He's the 10th most expensive QB on the slate. That's not bad. Tua has hit the 300-yard bonus 13 times since Hill has joined the team in 2022. 8 of those came at home, and 3 of the 5 road games were either inside or in September with no real issues. This game in September and indoors. Great news for Tyreek and Tua. And I know that Tyreek was dealing with this injury, but it seems like he's fine. In four 300-yard games last year with Tua, Waddle, Hill, and Jonnu combined for 60% of the targets and 63% of the receptions. And now Jonnu is not there. So I don't know where that's going to go, but that triple stack of of Waddle, Hill, and Tua is $3,200 less than the Chase, Burrow, Higgins stack, which means that is basically the difference between having Bijan Robinson as a part of that lineup or DJ Giddens. So you're either with backup running backs or stud running backs, depending on the one that you go to. I actually like going the overstack in that game of Tyreek, Tua, and A-Chain, and then bringing Jonathan Taylor and Josh Downs or Tyler Warren on the way back and just really hoping that is the game that ends up shooting out. Tight end, it's going to be Njoku, probably above all else at projected ownership. Let's see here if he's still up there. Oh, yeah, 19% for him. Kittle at 14%. He was initially going to be he's still a fantastic play. I really like George Kittle this week. And I don't know if he ends up getting to 14% or not, but that's where he's listed at right now. McBride and Bowers, no shock there. Then Kraft and Strange after them, but those pieces are not going to be chalky whatsoever. Projected defenses. I got some takes on defense so far this week. The Steelers, Broncos, and Jets now are 1, 2, 3. Who was the other one? I thought the Giants would end up coming. I think the Giants will end up coming in higher owned because when you go down and you need to save some money, we can see here the Giants are at 3.5%. I prefer the Browns to the Giants. I think the Browns give you double leverage. A, they have an amazing pass rush and will get after Joe Burrow, who's not afraid to take sacks or throw picks. And the Bengals have a terrible defensive line. And the Bengals defense is so bad that they're probably going to force the Cincinnati to continue to pass throughout the course of this game. Additionally, on the other side, one of the chalkiest plays of the week is going to be, as we saw earlier, and that cumulative ownership is going to be the Cincinnati stack. So if the Browns simply just shut them down and score fantasy points, no one's playing the Browns defense, everyone's playing the Bengals. If the Browns shut down the Bengals, you kill a bunch of stacks and you get points for yourself with a defense that no one else owns. So I like that part of it. Vegas, I like a little bit. The Texans, I like a little bit. So for me, power ranking here at the bottom, Browns, Raiders, Texans would be my preferred three. If you wanted to use the Giants, I get it. But that's, neither here nor there. The other way you could do it is if you really wanted to play against the Bengals and just try to leverage that situation, you could play the Bengals defense, who no one is going to be playing because they suck. But it's against the Browns. The Browns can throw picks and pick sixes. If the Bengals defense shows up with a score or return touchdown, it just ices the Bengals offense. It's another way to, instead of just pure fading them, you might as well double down on the fade if you're not going to be using those guys anyway. Now, I have more Chase Brown than anyone else on the Bengals. I'm probably not alone on that, but as a part of that game, I do like Cedric Tillman. I do like Jerry Jeudy. I'm trying to use as little Njoku as possible because, as you saw, he's going to be like 20% owned on that side of things. So those ownership projections will get updated again on Sunday morning. If you have the 4for4 membership, 4for4.com/Mayo gets you 25% off the DFS package. All John's articles is the exclusive podcast over there as well, and all of the other tools that you saw on the screen at the same time. I will do an update and make a mini cheat sheet in that free newsletter because that's what I got going on. I'm going to send that directly to you. You can find it over on X as well. That is the week one rundown, the cheat sheet, the things you need to know heading into the weekend, and maybe some plays. Hopefully the computer is not wrong to me because it needs to make up for my personally bad plays. I'll listen to the computer, and then the computer can tell me, hey, Pat, you're a winner. Wouldn't that be nice? You can be a winner too if you join the Splash Sports Survivor League. $50 to play, $500,000 to the winner. Join that at Splash right now, or just click the link down in the description. All right, I'll be back live Sunday night with Custom Meanie, breaking down week one, making some picks, eating some food, and having a good time. Please be there and share the show around. All right, I'm Pat Mayo. I'll see you next time.
Mayo experience! Experience!